Hi, everyone. Well, I can't believe it, but we are already at the end of fall, which means it is time for yet another fall favorites video. Now, if you are new here, I do like to do seasonal plant favorite videos where I basically pick about 10 plants that have really just been impressing me over the course of the past season, whether that be just in general how well they've been growing, or maybe they've really recovered well from something that happened to them previously. And today we do have a very good variety of different types of plants on this list. And I'm just really excited about a lot of them. So this is going to be in no particular order, but I am going to start with my Hoya linearis, which we did just repot almost exactly 2 months ago. And we took it up one pot size. And by one pot size, I mean we literally went up 1 inch. Normally, when I say one pot size, I mean 2 inch difference, like a 4 inch to a 6 inch. This one, we only went up one. We went from a 3 inch to a 4 inch. And I just decided at the time, well, let me back up. I decided before we started that repot in that video that I was going to take some propagations I had done because the plant had needed a trim and pot them back up in the top to make it more full. Now, I did not really anticipate adding all of them because there were a lot into the top of the plant, but then in the course of the repotting, I just decided screw it and we added them all in there, and I am happy to say they are all still alive and kicking. And just even looking at it right now, I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I put so many in there? But it is going to make it such a fuller plant. Now, this plant has been impressing me over the fall season, not just because all of those cuttings we shoved in there stayed alive, but also because it did bloom for me again. I'll call this the second time it bloomed. It's not really the second time. I guess when I talk about blooming, you guys, if I say a second time it's bloomed or a third time it's bloomed, what I mean is it took a break from blooming and then it started again. So I've had more than like one flower come in and then like this flower will die off and then it'll bloom again from the same spot. I don't call that blooming a second time because as long as it's consistently blooming, it's still just blooming, in my personal opinion. But sometimes they'll stop blooming for a while, take a break for a few months. I don't see any flowers and then it'll pick back up again. So this is the second time for it starting to bloom again for me. And I am just so excited about it. They're such pretty, I love white flowers on Hoyas. I don't know, white and green is just such a great combination. So super excited that it bloomed again, especially because when I did trim it and propagate all these cuttings that we put back in the top, I had to cut off some peduncles because they were all at the ends of the vines, and I was worried it was just gonna make it take even longer to start blooming on the already existing extremely long vines, but it didn't, so that was super nice. There is still a peduncle on some of the cuttings that we put up here, but the ones that have them haven't really started to push off new growth yet. But I did wanna show you guys that some of these cuttings we put in the top, not only are they all still alive, but some of them, I'm so worried I'm gonna catch this flower on my chair. I'm going to lay that across the desk. But some of those cuttings, as you can see right there, are starting to put out new growth. So this plant has recovered extremely well. And I will say, not surprisingly, it's starting to spread a lot of roots around in there, but we did shove a lot of cuttings in there. So it's kind of anticipated that we're going to start to see roots perhaps more quickly than we might have if we hadn't shoved a bunch of cuttings in there. But hopefully you can see roots are pushing around. It's not crazy, but it's doing fine. It's absolutely loving the repot. Didn't skip a beat. Just absolutely adore this plant. Okay, we will have some other Hoyas later on the list, but since I've been a little Hoya heavy in my content lately, I didn't want to like throw all the Hoyas at the start. So we're going to move on actually to three, and I can't even believe I have three on the list. I have three Syngoniums on this list, which is rare for me, but these three Syngoniums have just really been impressing me. I'm going to go put the linearis back in its home real quick because I'm just so worried I'm going to catch this flower on something. Okay, so the first Syngonium that I want to take a look at is what I think is a Syngonium berry illusion. I say think because it wasn't actually labeled. I know for sure it's an illusion series Syngonium just because it is growing more compact and small than a non-illusion series. And just based on photos I've seen and everything, I'm 99% positive this is a berry illusion, but absolutely love this plant. I absolutely love mini Syngoniums, I will call them. So the smaller, more compact growing Syngoniums, they're just, I don't know, well, first of all, they take up less space. They're just a bit easier to maintain in my personal experience. And they're slower to start to trail, which honestly is part of what helps keep them looking more bushy. But the other thing that I've really loved about all of my compact Syngoniums is that whenever they start to get a little bald in the center, which is why the plant is on this list, they bush out so easily and fill themselves in so much more easily than a standard Syngonium such as my white butterfly. So we did move this into, was it? Yeah, we repotted this, had to think, into this pot. This is in leca, by the way. It is in a self-watering, wicking type situation with nutrient solution in the reservoir. We moved this from a non-drainage leca situation into this pot back in January when I was doing some restyling of plants. And at that time, this center part was leafless. And the reason it was leafless was because the no drainage thing that this was in was a vase that was about, I guess, this big around. So all of the stems were kind of pulled together because of that. And so the plant looked very bushy. So when I put it into this, which is a much wider circumference, as you can see, all of the stems kind of fell apart and draped down a little bit on the sides, which left the center completely bare. I mean, you guys, where you see leaves right here, you saw no leaves. You just saw the leaves all around in a circle. But that is what I am talking about when I say I love how easily these Illusion series and other mini Syngoniums bush out, because since then it has grown in everything you see here, and it just recently, over the last month, got to almost the same height as some of the old growth over here. So it did look a little funky for a while when it was growing in because these leaves were all real short down here at the bottom. But I mean, look how full and thick that is, you guys. Look how many new leaves there are in the center there. You see all those petioles in there? That is a ton of new growth that it just did on its own. Like, I didn't trim anything. Like, I don't think I've ever trimmed anything other than dead leaves off of this plant in the entire almost probably 4 years I've had it. And that's actually, we're probably close to 5 years. We are, I think we're close to 5 years that I've had this. So this is kind of what I'm trying to tell you guys is these Illusion series and mini style Syngoniums, they're a little bit, I don't even want to say they're slower growers because look what it did in the middle here. They grow to a certain point and then they kind of stall out a little bit in terms of length, but then they keep bushing themselves out up here. I just absolutely loved it. Like, in contrast, I've had my Syngonium white butterfly for maybe 1 month longer than I've had this plant. I have to trim that thing all the freaking time. Like, it just grows and trails so much more quickly than the mini series or Illusion series or mini type Syngoniums. So absolutely love this one. So glad that it is filled in the center there. Super happy about this one. Okay, the next one I want to look at actually did the same thing. So, and I was just noticing it because it lives here in my office. By the way, this plant is now living, because we did restyle in January. We put it in my west-facing window in my kitchen. During the summer, I think it was a little too hot for it. It was killing off a lot more leaves. So I moved it into the frosted east-facing glass window in my bathroom, and it's absolutely been loving life there. So that's just where it's going to be for now. But this next one lives in my office in front of a north-facing window. This is another, it's not part of the Illusion series, but it is another mini form Syngonium. This is my Syngonium Glo Go. I think in terms of, oh, hold on, it's getting caught on cords. Okay, I think we are free. I was gonna say, I think in terms of appearance of my, what I'll call all green style Syngoniums, this is my favorite. Now, it does have some kind of white patterning variegation on those leaves. But once again, I have never trimmed this plant. I've had it almost as long as the one we just looked at. And at one point in time, it also got very bald in the center and did the same thing that we just saw on the other one. And as you can see now, all of the foliage is the same height. It is nice and full and bushy, and I can still even see new growth still pumping out in the center of this thing. But I mean, I don't even know. Like, do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, this one's even less trailing than the one we just looked at. It's just such a more rewarding growth pattern to me, because I think it's because it's less maintenance. I think that's what I like about these versus, for example, like my white butterfly Syngonium. You just don't have to do much. I don't have to trim it. It just grows more like a traditional upright style plant. So if you like the look of Syngoniums, but you don't like that they trail, or alternatively for the ones that really trail, like my white butterfly, you can also stake them up a pole. If you're just like, I just don't like that, it's just too much upkeep, I really wish it would just stay looking bushy and like a bush like this all the time, get yourself an Illusion Series one or a Glo Go or a mini pixie. One of those types you're going to enjoy much more. But I have just been absolutely loving this one. Now, I can pretty much guarantee you this one needs a repot. I haven't repotted it in probably like 3 years. We've got all kinds of like roots coming through the bottom there. So I need to get around to doing that. And I probably will just root prune it so I don't have to keep taking it up a pot size, because I really do like the size that it is now and it fits really well in the space here in my office. So that is kind of what my plan for this one is. I have a lot of plants I need to root prune, you guys. I might do like a let me try this again. Root prune and repot. That's a lot of R's and P's. Try saying that 5 times fast in a video sometime soon, because I know we're moving into winter, but you guys, my plants don't know it's winter in my house. So I repot and root prune year round. I've never had a problem with it. But absolutely love how this one has been doing this season. Definitely still one of my favorite Syngoniums. Okay, and then rounding out the Syngoniums that are on the list is a Syngonium that I mentioned to you guys in a video earlier this year that I was thinking I might end up not wanting to keep. It kind of changed my mind recently, but I don't know, we'll see, and I'll explain again here in a second why I had said that. But this is my Syngonium Red Spot Tricolor. You guys, the colors. I love the colors and the patternings on these leaves. It is so gorgeous. And this one has now started to give me the coloring that we expect to see on both plants. So these were two separate plants that I had bought and combined. And until a few months ago, they were in a no drainage LECA situation in like a glass container that was about this big around and about this tall. And I ended up a few months ago repotting it into a self-wicking situation, just like the berry illusion we looked at is in. And since I did that, you guys, it has taken off. I mean, it's trailing now. We've got a whole long trailing vine that just popped off out of nowhere shortly after I put it in this pot. Now, this is not a mini style Syngonium, so hopefully you can kind of see the difference. And I've had this, let's see, one of the plants in here I've had, I think it's this one, I've had for a year and a half, and the other one I've had for over 2 years now. And it's not growing super fast, which actually kind of shocked me, because my white butterfly, which is not a mini one, grew way more quickly than this. So I'm not sure why this one kind of wasn't growing that fast, but also like my white butterfly is way more plants in one pot than this. So maybe it just is kind of like an illusion thing, you know what I mean, to me. But this has been living and is still living on a shelf in my living room behind my couch next to a southern facing window. It is pretty far back from the southern facing window, which it definitely has to be. Syngoniums do not like getting too much light at all. That's part of the reason that I had to move the berry illusion into my bathroom over the summer. So it's not that it's not getting enough light or anything like that. I think this is partially just the way that this particular type of Syngonium grows. And this goes back to why I had said I'm not sure if I'm going to end up being happy with it, because I feel like this is one of those Syngoniums that, yes, you can let it trail, but also it's getting like smaller and smaller leaves, which my other Syngoniums don't do that when they start to trail, which tells me that this plant really probably prefers to climb. And the other thing is that this plant already, as an immature plant, is lobing out way more than my other Syngoniums. So hopefully you noticed on the last Syngoniums we were looking at, we have that arrowhead shape. Syngoniums actually become, oh, I just blanked on the name of it. If I can find it, I'll flash it up on screen. It's a specific type of leaf pattern. They actually develop into like a petiole that looks like it has like 5, I believe it's 5, individual leaves on it versus just one leaf like what you're seeing right now. This is just the immature form of the leaf. It looks completely different as an adult, but as it matures, these ears up here become more apparent, the lobes become more apparent, And then that's where they kind of split off. Like this will become its own leaf, this will become its own leaf, this will become its own leaf, then this will split again. And that develops that mature looking leaf. And the fact that this is already lobing so much more than the other syngoniums we were just looking at is just a clear indicator to me that this is a type of syngonium that really is going to prefer to climb. And I don't really like to have my syngonium climbing. So we're just going to see what happens. Right now, I'm just kind of like, this is a little scraggly looking for me. But then you guys, what gets me though is how beautiful the leaves are on this plant though. Because look on this vine right here, these new leaves that have come in. Look how gorgeous. I know the vine's kind of sticking down into the shot. And it's hard to tell because, there we go. I'm trying to block the light from shining through the back so you can see just how pink or reddish the red pink part is there. I mean, it is an absolutely gorgeous leaf, absolutely gorgeous coloring on this plant. Like, I love it. It's almost like a panda galaxy crossed with a pink splash, with the pink being a little bit more red than pink. I mean, it's a gorgeous plant, you guys, but it has just taken off over this fall since I did the repot. So that is the primary reason that it's on this list. Also, I'm just happy that the newest plant in here is no longer giving me all pink leaves, because when I first got it, every leaf it put out was pink, and I was like, am I sure I got the right plant? But yes, absolutely beautiful plant. I'm just not sure if the growth pattern is going to be my favorite over time, but right now I'm just loving how quickly it is growing, and I'm just going to give it a chance and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so up next we have another Hoya that we actually repotted in the same repotting video as when we repotted the linearis, and that is my Hoya curtisii. You guys, this is my first Hoya I have ever owned. All right. This was the first one, and I wasn't even a Hoya head yet, and this didn't make me a Hoya head. Honestly, I got like 1, 2, 3 Hoyas around the same time, maybe a year after I started getting into houseplants. And then I didn't get a lot of Hoyas for a long time. I got like a few more over the next like few years. It wasn't until recently that I started getting a lot of Hoyas. But this is the very first one I ever owned. I absolutely love the Hoya curtisii with these little dark green leaves with that kind of silverish grayish splashing on them. But what has annoyed me about this plant is that it had never bloomed for me, even though it was my oldest Hoya, until we repotted it. And just a reminder, we didn't actually take this up a pot size. I didn't even change the substrate. I basically just wanted it in a clear pot so I had a better gauge of when it was drying out, because I felt like I wasn't watering it enough. And so we just literally took it out of its pot and put it in a clear pot. That's all we did. But then it bloomed. And now it has not put out another flower yet since that happened. But I did take lots of pictures, so I will have it up on screen for you. A very different flower type than my other Hoyas. The flowers did come in when they were closed green, and they kind of looked like little, I don't know, they look like molars. Like the shape of them before they open look like a little tooth. And then when they did open, the center of the flower is white and also almost kind of tooth-shaped-ish. Not like crazy tooth-shaped, just but sort of. And then the petals that open up are way longer than petals on any other of my Hoyas that I own. They're green, and then they fold back and kind of trail down and curve outward a little bit, almost like, I don't know, like hair. And so, yeah, it was really fascinating because I've never had a Hoya with flowers like that before. And it was a huge bloom. It took up a lot of space on the plant and everything. Totally threw me for a loop. But like I said, it has not rebloomed yet, but I am getting a lot of new growth since we repotted it because, spoiler alert, I was letting it dry out too much. So that's why I think I hadn't been getting blooms and why I wasn't getting a ton of new growth. Like I haven't had to trim this one at all this year. But this right here is all new growth. This is sprouting off of a lot of the vines. Oh, oops. Apparently I accidentally snapped a vine off. Or maybe it was already snapped and it was just hanging there. I don't know. Oh well, it's crazy long. It's all right. I need to be more careful though. But yeah, so it is just pumping out a ton of new growth since we did that. Really impressing me. But that flower, you guys, that just made my day. I am realizing right now it is starting to grow back up itself in some spots. So it's probably even longer in places than I realized. Whole new vine right here that is just growing up the plant. But absolutely love this plant, you guys, and I'm so glad we put in that clear pot because, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, curtisii. I was totally underwatering you, but it was still alive and doing well. You know, always better to underwater than overwater, but we've got it sorted out now, and hopefully that means we'll be getting more blooms moving forward. Okay, so up next we do have our only pothos on this list. And just a real quick reminder, you guys, the curtisii has always lived and is still living on one of the shelves on the walls in my living room next to my southern facing windows. It is the closest shelf to the window, so much closer than the red spot tricolor syngonium that we looked at. But our next plant is also living up there, and this plant has just been pumping out all kinds of new growth. It is getting so long, it is tangling on the cords here. And it also has now reached the bottom of the shelf below it. So it's on one of the top shelves on the wall. The longest vine is now below the bottom shelf, and that happened over the fall. So this is my Manjula pothos. Absolutely adore this plant. This is a combination of plants from Aroid Asia, because I had ordered some Manjula pothos from Aroid Asia for my inventory for my rare plant pop-up shops, and I ended up keeping a bunch of them. And then the other plantlets in here are actually from one of you guys who lives in Hawaii who had sent me some cuttings from your plant. And honestly, I don't even know which are which anymore in here, but they're all growing equally as well. They all look equally as beautiful. I love the more heart-shaped look, squatter heart-shaped look to these leaves compared to a lot of the other epiprimnums. So this is an epiprimnum aureum. Manjula is the scientific name. I do realize I have a few, or I guess just one, oh no, there's a few little crispy dead leaves up here at the top. Just probably normal old age leaf loss, nothing to worry about. But I do have now, coming down the back side here, which this is the side that faces the wall, we do have a whole vine that has just decided to develop and start to trail on this side. So this plant is kind of bushing itself out, which they will do. So absolutely loving it. Now it is still in one of these plastic pot liners, which I'm trying to transition everyone who's in one of these into a regular clear pot that's actually designed to be a pot and not a pot liner, just because I, for whatever reason, have found that all my plants that are in these send their roots straight to the bottom, regardless of the type of substrate they're in. It's just some weird thing, and I feel like they're not 100% happy in there. So that's actually another video I need to do. We need to do a root prune and repot, where we just repot all the ones that need to be root pruned. And then we need to do a repot video where we just repot all the ones that are in these pot liners. It's a lot of repotting. I really hope you guys like repotting videos. Comment down below and let me know. So anyways, it has just been doing so fabulously though. And once again, I've said it before, I will say it again. You guys told me these were super slow growers. It has not been my experience. Has it been as fast as some of my other epiprimnum? No, 100%. It's definitely slower than my other epiprimnum, but it's not as slow as I thought it was going to be based on what you guys were telling me to expect. So I've been pleasantly surprised by that, and oh, it's just so beautiful. I actually thought about swapping it out with the pearls and jade back here for future videos now that it's getting bushier and longer. I don't know, they might take turns in future videos as to who's going to be on the bookshelf back here, because just a reminder, you guys, this does not permanently live back here because there's not enough light. And yes, I could install a grow light on there, but also when I put it there, I have to take like 6 books off the shelf. So it's just not a permanent thing, but it just makes it look prettier back here. So we might just make this a spotlight thing for videos, and maybe each video I will just have a different spotlight featured plant here each week for you guys to see. But super happy with how this one has been doing. Okay, so up next we have what is our only Anthurium on the list this fall. And it is on this list because it has just been growing more rapidly than any of my other Anthurium. It is quickly becoming one of my favorite Anthuriums, which I was not expecting because it is a longer leafed Anthurium. It is more of a flat sinused Anthurium, and normally I'm not a huge fan of those particular types of Anthurium, but the longer I have this one, the more I'm becoming a fan of it. So this is my Anthurium Funky Dark Mama by Ree Gardens Port. The full name will be on screen for you. This thing just keeps giving me new leaves, you guys. This newest leaf right here, first of all, let's talk about how beautiful the dark red coloring is when these new leaves come in. You guys, I think, just saw this last week. Was it last week when we were cleaning the cabinet? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was this plant where I was like, oh, look, I just noticed it's putting out a new leaf. And the leaf was like this big. Hasn't even been a full 2 weeks since I filmed that. And it's already this big. Like, it is growing so rapidly, you guys. And the craziest part about this is the first time on this plant I've had this happen. This was the last new leaf. It's not even fully hardened off, you guys. It's not even fully hardened off. It's not even done getting big yet, and it already gave me another new leaf. That is rapid fire growth for an Anthurium, at least for me. I rarely have that happen unless it's a case where there's two plants in one pot, which as you can see, this is just one plant. There's only one head to this Anthurium. So I've just been so impressed with it. It is sizing up so nicely. Just for reference, here's one of the less mature leaves where you can see the sinus wasn't even flattening out yet on this. Look at this gorgeous one right here. So far, what I'm liking about this is that it's narrow, but it's not too narrow because I don't like flat sinus, like super wide leafed anthuriums, the ones that just look like a giant like triangle that are like this wide. I just don't like the look of them. And I'm not a huge fan of the super narrow strappy anthuriums. This is like a happy in between for me. Like it's my perfect in between, assuming it stays this way and doesn't start to get super wide or super narrow, which I don't think it's going to because that is a pretty mature leaf right there. So I think this is a good indicator of what this plant's going to look like moving forward. And I am just so happy with it. I'm so impressed with it. It really hasn't given me any funky leaves when they've come in, other than the fact that this one here has like a little like indentation right there on the edge. You can see that. But I mean, there's no like holes or tears or anything like that. We did during the cabinet clean out video last week remove two of the super old leaves, like older than this, that were kind of crisping up, but they were just baby leaves. It was just their time to go. But other than that, I mean, the leaves are coming in pristine. I love the dark coloration of the leaves after they harden off, which once again, I'm trying to block the light from coming through to give you a better idea of what color the leaves are, because hopefully you can see there, if I take my hand away, they look like way lighter green. This is one of the downsides of filming in my office, but it is what it is. So that's more indicative of the actual color. It does kind of have that kind of bluish sheen to it as well. So absolutely stunning plant. If you guys want one of these, like if you're just looking at this, like, man, that's a beautiful plant. I did get this from Fontanimal Plant House. I don't know if they still have any of these crosses left or not, but that would be a good place to start. You could always just ask them. Maybe they don't have any widely listed as available, but you could always just ask them. They are on Palm Street, so you could also just hop in one of their lives, type in the chat, ask. They will gladly let you know if they have any, or if they don't, if they're going to have any, when they might have them ready. But this plant has just impressed me so much in general, but especially with how much it's been growing over the fall. Okay, so up next we do have a few more Hoyas. Two more? Yes, last two Hoyas on the list. And then I think we have two more plants after that that are both different genus. So first up, I wanted to look at my Hoya Bella. So both of the plants that we're about to look at, I got from Petus Planners at different points in the year. This one, you guys came along with me on my shopping trip with them back, oh, when was that? 3 months ago? I think it was 3 months ago. And this was a impulse purchase. They had a bunch of little 2-inch plants like this on a little display at the checkout counter. And they were relatively well priced for the plants that were up there. I've always wanted a Hoya Bella, and I really was drawn to the outer variegated version, which is what you're seeing here. And it was just a little plant. I mean, it was this. None of this growth you see here was there. It was just these little leaves right here. That's as tall as it was. But look, all this new growth is put out, you guys. Now, I did repot this because it was in almost pure peat type soil, which I think it was just in that because that's good for starting propagations, because you don't want the soil to be too dry because you're trying to encourage the development of roots. But for Hoyas, once they develop roots, they don't want to stay like super wet. So it is now in my epiphyte mix. It has been living above my kitchen sink and west facing window the entire time I've had it. Now, when I did repot it, that put it through a little bit of trauma. So it kind of took a while to start growing. Probably I'd say we were at least a month and a half after I got it. I hadn't really seen any new growth yet. It was just kind of recovering from coming into my house, getting repotted, but then it took off and now it's just nonstop going, you guys. I mean, two vines here. Look how long they've gotten. They're pushing out new leaves every day. I've heard Hoya Bella is a super fast grower, so I am super excited about this. Oh, it is going to be so gorgeous. I was actually flipping through Instagram, I think it was yesterday. Jake, the plant guy, if you guys don't follow him, He reminds me a lot of Sydney Plant Guy, but he's based in California here in the US. I don't know, similar vibes in my personal opinion. Cute cats also, just like Sydney Plant Guy, but really, really smart guy. Like, I've chatted with him a bit, especially when he got his white fusion calathea because he was worried about it, which is doing great, by the way. Was just asking him about that the other day. But he posted a picture of his all green Hoya Bella yesterday, I think it was. And oh my gosh, it's massive, huge, like at least a 6-inch pot, so full, so flowing. And I'm just so excited for this to get there. And when it's pumping out this much growth during the fall after having to adjust to a repot and everything and being brought into my house, I just know that it's going to get there relatively quickly. Okay, so the next and last Hoya on this list, also once again from Pete's Planners, I still can't remember if I told you guys about getting this one prior to when I did the Planty update a few weeks ago for you guys. I don't know, maybe I posted about it on Instagram and I never mentioned it in a video. I honestly don't know, but this was around the same time that I got my all green Hoya polyneura from Aroid Asia, which I knew was just going to be a little baby tiny cutting. Around that time, Pete's Planners got 6-inch, and I think they also had like 4-inch, 3-inch. They had some varieties of green polyneuras that were obviously more than a one vine, 2-leaf cutting situation. And so at a local plant swap, they had one. I snatched it up. This was probably about 6 months ago, I think now. And this thing has just taken off. So before I even show it to you, and some of you may remember from a few weeks ago, but this is what it looked like when I got it in a, I guess technically, I think it's a 5-inch pot, not a 6-inch pot. But I mean, it wasn't trailing at all whatsoever. I mean, no trailing, nothing going on. I mean, they were just a lot of vines, but they were mostly like 2 or 4 leaf situation vines just in the pot. It was fairly well rooted, but not like super crazy root bound or anything like that. But you guys, this thing has just gone crazy. I mean, it is just getting longer. All of the vines are growing longer. It has sprouted off new vines from these vines. It has been living directly in my southeast facing window in my kitchen. It has been loving life there, other than the fact that we did have a instance in the summer where I think I stayed in the pool too long and Theo wanted dinner. And to make me come inside, he got up in that window and stared at me and turned his head and just started chewing on this plant because he knew it would make me come in, which it did. It did. But hopefully you can see right there, there's Theo chew damage from telling me I'm not allowed to spend too much time in the pool because it's dinner time. So I did have that happen. And interestingly enough, and I want to point this out because I've never seen this happen before, and I actually looked it up and it's happened to some other people. So he chewed on that leaf, and I think he might have also chewed on this part of the vine. But can you guys see how there's like a little bit of black? You can see it's kind of blackish right there, and then it's a little bit black on these leaves. Oh, come on, camera. You see kind of the black spots and stuff on there? So a couple of things. I looked that up because I've never had that before. I thought it was going to be some kind of like mold or fungus or something like that. Turns out it's not. I did see some people saying that that can be how edema presents on some Hoyas. And edema, if you're not aware, is when you basically water your plant too frequently. Sometimes it won't like cause root rot or leaf kill off, but it will cause the cells in the leaves to become too full of water and they will burst. And on other plants I've owned, such as, for example, an aluminum plant, so Pilea caderii, when that happens, they're like transparent looking dots. They almost look kind of white. They're not black. But I have seen in several Hoya forums people saying that the edema on some Hoyas will present black like that. So if you see that, that could be a sign that you are watering the plant too much. But I also found several people saying, my cat chewed on my Hoya and then I got these black spots just on the vine that it chewed on. And that's exactly what happened here. None of the other vines have that problem. It's just the one that Theo chewed on. So I have a hunch, since a bunch of other people were saying that same thing happened to them when a cat chewed on their plant. I have a hunch it's related to that. It just threw me for a loop. I was just like, what is happening here? But there's no signs of pests or anything. And it is legit just on that vine and nowhere else. So weird, you guys. I mean, even the new leaves coming in have a little bit of it. So I don't know if it's just continued damage that is spread from where he punctured holes here or what, but the other vines, I'm just double checking. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything on the other vines. So I don't know. I will let you know if it spreads, if it turns out it's something else. Like, I have no clue, but I have no reason to think I've been overwatering this. Polyneuras tend to want a little bit more moisture in my experience than other Hoyas, but just so you guys can see, the roots are doing fine. Like, we have no signs of overwatering going on in terms of the roots in this pot. They have spread around just very, very nicely. This is still in the substrate that I bought it in, which is it's kind of like my epiphyte mix, but it's got cocoa chunks in addition to perlite, pumice, and some other kind of base substrate in there, which might just be cocoa coir. But it's been doing fine, so I didn't want to mess with it. And just so you guys do know, hopefully you can see the sticker right here, Hoyas are non-toxic to pets, so it's no big deal that Theo was chewing on that. Another great thing about Hoyas, but I'm just so impressed with how quickly this one has been growing, especially over the fall. Like, it really started to take off during the fall. Okay, we've got 2 more plants and one is really big, so let me make some space real quick. Okay, speaking of cats demanding food, we are about 20 minutes away from midday wet food treat for the cats, and Theo is starting to get very vocal about it because he starts demanding his midday wet food treat like an hour beforehand, especially now that the time change happened and he doesn't understand the concept of time changes, right? So, up next, once again, because we did just look at it while cleaning the cabinet, but I had to put it on this list because it is just doing so much over the fall. This is my Alocasia frydek. Now, once again, there's been some debate over whether or not it is actually called a frydek or a Mitcha. I'll put the other name up on screen for you. I looked this up, I think, when I did my last full houseplant tour back in January, and I found several botanical gardens, and I went with how they had it listed. So that is what I'll put up on screen for you. I honestly can't fully recall, but I actually think it might be the scientific name that I just flashed for you with frydek in quotes at the end of it. I can't fully recall, but I will put it up there. That is what botanical gardens here in the US are listing it as, trusted botanical gardens. So that's what I'm going with for what it is called. I know there's been a lot of debate. Like, it doesn't really matter to me because, I mean, I say frydek, you guys know what I'm talking about. And if I'm talking about the variegated variety, I will say variegated frydek. We're just going to roll with it. I realize there's a lot of confusion around that and whatnot, but let's just move on and look at how pretty the plant is because that's really all I care about. I know people get so caught up in the name sometimes, and I really do appreciate it when you guys tell me things like, for example, one of the Hoyas, I want to say it's the Pachyclada. I know I'm mispronouncing it. It goes by a different name now, and so I'm glad you guys told me that because I hadn't actually looked it up. I was just going based off of what Texas Plant Connection had listed it as in one of their lives, and that really helped me find more information about it. So I like it when you guys let me know, oh, by the way, it's actually classified as this now. You know, I like that. That's fine. But with names like this, where it's like a cultivar situation type thing, yes, tell people like it's also known as this, but let's just not get into a big argument with anybody about, oh no, you should call it this, not that. As long as you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like Doc Block said when I was out filming at his place, the plant doesn't care what I call it. The plant doesn't care what I call it. Only people seem to get all irate about it. So we're going to try not to do that on this channel, but I am just so happy with this plant. Once again, did grow this from a single corm sent to me from one of you guys. Growing alocasia from corm go a little bit differently depending on the type of alocasia. For example, my tiny dancer alocasia corms, they take off and grow so quickly, but they are not what are considered jewel alocasias. They are what I will call a full-size alocasia, even though they are kind of a miniature form of an alocasia. All right, Theo is now pawing at the door to my office demanding food, so if you hear anything in the background, that's what you're hearing. But jewel alocasias, in my experience, take a little bit longer to take off from corms. I don't even remember how long it's been since this was gifted to me. It's been at least almost 2 years, you guys, and we're only this big now. So that's what I'm trying to say. Alocasia corms, when you're growing from corm, depending on the type, just don't be surprised if it takes a while. Now, this one really has taken off and sized up over the fall, which is why it is on this list. It has also gotten to the point now where it is maintaining at least 4 leaves for me, and I think that's because I finally went ahead and repotted it, even though it didn't really look root bound. And I think this is what I'm learning and want to share with you guys today about growing from alocasia from corms. Don't necessarily wait for them to get crazy root bound, because to be honest with you, alocasias, a lot of them never get super crazy root bound anyways. Some of them do, some of them don't, but don't necessarily feel like you've got to wait if you've got it in a tiny 2-inch pot and it's just maintaining 2 leaves and the leaves aren't getting bigger. So if they aren't sizing up, because they will not start out this large when growing from corms, if they are not sizing up, you have it in a 2-inch pot and it has a decent amount of roots. So actually the number of roots it has in here right now, it had a little bit less than this when I took it a few months ago. I think 3 months ago now, I believe. Took it out of a 2-inch pot and put it into this, we'll call it a 4-inch pot. It's a Starbucks cup, but it's about a 4-inch pot size. Had a little bit less rootage than this. Most of it was just down at the bottom here. And I was like, it's not a lot of roots, but you know what? I'm not seeing a size up. It's only maintaining 2 leaves. I'm just going to take it up a pot size. And it took off. And not just in terms of leaf growth, as you can see, it has rooted out really nicely as well. So regardless of how root bound it is, if you see that your alocasias you're growing from corm have kind of stalled out, I guess I would call it, try taking it up a pot size. This instance, I did actually go up 2 inches, but if it makes you nervous, just take it up 1 inch. 1 inch can make a difference too. And if it starts to take off, when it gets to this point again, take it up another inch and just kind of see what happens, because I really think that's what led to this starting to take off. And I am just so pleased with how this plant is looking, these velvety leaves, and these leaves will get even bigger than this. It will get taller. That's why we had to reconfigure, well, part of the reason we had to reconfigure the cabinet in last week's video, but just super impressed with this plant. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I started to bring the big plant, the finale plant, down because it is upstairs. Some of you might be able to guess what it is. And then I was kind of like, I have been putting beneficial bug sachets on all the plants that came in last week, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now. I know that there has been signs of pest activity in my cabinet that this lives in. So what I'm going to do real quick, because I really want to bring it down in person to give you guys an idea of size. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to get all the plants that are still on my desk put away. I'm going to do a quick clean down before I bring it down, because I just don't want to risk, since it is finally pest free after having horrible flat mites, I don't want to risk it getting pests again. Okay, you guys, I forgot how heavy she is. Oh my god, she's so heavy. She is killing off some of her older leaves right now, but that's okay, because we just had to take a look at the red Maranta, because she is just back to trailing and being her big, beautiful self. And she did get a beneficial bug sachet too. You can see up there at the top. So even if we do come into contact with some pests down here, we should be okay. But I don't know, it just makes me nervous. So I wanted to clean up before I brought her down, because I am just so happy with what she is back to looking like. She was on death's doorstep, is how I felt with the flat mite situation. All the leaves were curled up. She was not trailing at all anymore. I mean, she looked like a hot mess. I probably have some footage I'm showing you. But oh my gosh, she has bounced back. Only took 2 sulfur sprays to get her to looking like this. She has had 2 rounds of beneficial bugs over the course of this year. The ones that I just gave her less than 2 weeks ago, and then one back in March. But we were pretty much, like, I had seen no signs of flat mites for a long time before that. So I really think the sulfur spray really worked for that situation. But oh my gosh, you guys, she's so heavy, first of all. It's been like 25 days since I watered her, but she still feels so heavy, and she definitely doesn't need to be watered again yet. I really rarely have to water her, especially now that she's been living upstairs in a north-facing window ever since I sequestered her because of the flat mites. Before that, she was living in my east-facing window. I did have to water her more frequently when she was living in that window, but she just takes forever to dry out. She's in like a 10-inch pot, you guys. And I thought I might have to down pot her at one point when she lost so many leaves and everything during the flat mite situation, but I didn't. And she has come back. She gets watered like maybe once a month if we're lucky. And she is just absolutely stunning, isn't she, you guys? Oh, I love her so much. The lighting does her no justice in here. I bet if I show you there, that's better, because now the hanging vines, you don't have the light shining through the back. Look how dark and beautiful those leaves are with those red vines. They've got those gorgeous red back sides to them. And she is now trailing to the bottom of the pot. Before we got flat mites, we were probably 1.5 feet below the bottom of the pot in terms of trailing. So I am just so happy with her, you guys. I've got to put her down. She's so heavy. Arm workout and a half. Oh my goodness. Okay. Whew. I'm just so impressed with her, and I'm so happy that she has started to trail again over the fall. That just started over the fall that we started getting the actual trailing vines. So that is the reason that I put her on the list today. Oh, she's just so beautiful. Like, I need to move her back downstairs, but I'm just still paranoid that if I put her back in that window, she's gonna get pests again. So I don't know. Eventually we will. That window also does get a little bit cold in the winter, and since winter is about to start, maybe I will leave her. Well, honestly though, the room she's in upstairs is one of the coldest rooms in the house, so maybe we should just move her back down. We'll see. We'll see. But those are the plants that have been impressing me this fall. I would love to hear about some of the plants that have really been impressing you this fall. Be sure to comment down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to click that like and or subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Aloha!